Hey there. This video isn't exactly about the campaign, not really anyway, but it is a salute to a dear friend and a mentor of mine who passed away yesterday, Ray Zinck, who was huge here and a huge part of the news scene for many, many years. He passed away yesterday after a battle with cancer. He was 72 years old. And I wanted to just take a moment to remember him. I met Ray almost 40 years ago on a March afternoon in 1981 when I was 15 years old and full of piss and vinegar, I guess, and not really afraid of much of anything. And I decided that I wanted to be a radio announcer. And so after school, I walked down to the location of the CJLS building, which then was at 222 Main Street, where Gaia Global Kitchen is right now. And so after school, I walked in there and told them I wanted to be a radio announcer. And shockingly, nobody threw me out. They actually gave me a test, got me to read a little bit of news. Ray Zinck did that. And I was hired and honestly, really never left after that. Ray was one of the finest people I've ever known. And he and Chris Perry both kind of became father figures. And I'm very fortunate in my life to have had three people whom I consider father figures: my dad, Ray Zinck, and Chris Perry. And Ray was an amazing storyteller, and he understood news like no one I've ever met before and made everybody understand it as well. He had a passion and an ability to tell stories like nobody I've ever known. I've watched him so many times. I can remember watching him putting together documentaries that he would do for the Weekender. And back in those days, of course, it was reel tape that he was using. And I've never seen anybody so good at splicing tape. So what you had was you had this square area and you would take the tape. These days, you just, flick a switch and you edit things out. You put that down, you would literally cut it with a razor blade, cut out the piece you didn't want, and then tape it back together. And he could do that like no one else. But the other thing, the most important thing, is that he could tell stories like no one else. And the stories that he told were an amazing influence on me because they were about people and they had so much empathy. They were about people who cared and people who made a difference. He was a huge supporter of veterans and loved to tell the stories of people who fought in the world wars and in other conflicts as well, and actually went to visit many of those spots. He's also one of the people who influenced me so much when it comes to being involved in the community, because of course, Ray was all about this region and all about this community. And he's a man who's going to be greatly missed by everyone. But for me, I'm just going to remember a guy who I cared about so much and that I'm going to miss terribly. Rest easy, Ray.